In a world where robots are everywhere and kids treat them like best friends, a boy finds out that his robot is different from the others. Today, we'll recap the story of the 2021 movie Ron's Gone Wrong. A big tech company called Bubble is releasing a new product that is only for kids and teens. Mark, the CEO of the company, shows off his new project, the BubbleBot. This device is a small robot that has the friendship algorithm. In addition to being its user's best friend, the robot's mission is to help its user find other friends around the world. Ellie, a girl who was at the launch and was given the first B-bot, was chosen because she was there. Mark uses the information on the girl's social media to help the robot get to know her. A few minutes later, the robot already knew everything about Ellie, down to her favorite drawings in games. The B-bot has more features than a smartphone, such as an immersive 360-degree projector that lets the user enter a new world. With all of these benefits, it's easy to see why it's become so popular among young people. Barney, a boy riding his scooter to school, sees his friends having fun with their bees. When the boy was walking by Bubble's headquarters, he was amazed by the friendship bots. In a moment of distraction, a truck carrying new friendship bots almost hit him. The driver stops in time and Barney is not hurt, but one of the robots falls out of the truck and is damaged. The boy continues on his way to school and has to face another day of being thought of as the weirdo while other kids play with their robots. The boy gets scared and drops some flyers from his backpack, and then Savannah shows up and finds out that those flyers were invitations to Barney's birthday party. The boy tries to hide and cover up the invitations. His family is very strange compared to his friend's family, so he didn't feel comfortable bringing anyone to his house because she was late for class. Savannah decides to leave Barney alone before she goes to class. She says goodbye to her B-bot and puts the creature on the shelf with the other robots on the wall. There was an empty space where Barney's robot friend should have been, but the boy knew that his family couldn't afford to buy him one. He even thinks about trying to fit in with his classmates, but gives up before even trying. His teacher tells him that he's too different. Miss Thomas says that the boy's grandmother called the school to tell them that it was Barney's birthday that day. Since Barney was alone, she tells him to sit on the friendship bench and wait for some of his classmates to join him. However, this makes Barney feel even more awkward and embarrassed. A few minutes later, at the teacher's request, some of Barney's classmates came up to him to wish him a happy birthday. They told him that they had heard about the party. When Rich hears this, he starts making fun of Barney for making really bad jokes about rocks. At the end of class, the boy tries to ignore the bad jokes, so he takes his scooter and goes home. Just as he's about to walk in the door, he hears another bad joke. When his grandmother's goat tries to take his backpack, he is surprised. His father owns an export business and spends most of his day trying to find new customers to sell his goods. He didn't have much time to spend with his son because he worked so much. When he got home, his grandmother gave him a wool cap, which made the boy allergic, and his father gave him a set of hammers so Barney could play with his rocks, even though the family was broke. The young man still hoped to get a B-bot for his birthday, but this only made him sad. To cheer him up, Danker shows him the feast she made so that he could invite his friends. At that moment, he remembers the disaster that happened on his 6th birthday. At the end of the party, his house caught fire and his friends ran away in despair. So Barney decides to be honest and admits that he didn't invite anyone to his party. Someone yells that it's a bubble delivery when the doorbell rings. At that time, the boy's hopes are renewed and he runs to open the door outside, where a very large gift is waiting for him. Barney is very happy because he thinks he has finally won his robot friend, but when he opens the gift, he finds that it was just a big rock. His co-workers then show up and start filming him, which was just another joke. When Graham saw how sad his son was, he went to Bubble headquarters to buy him one of those B-bots. But when they got there, it was already closing time, so they were told to come back the next day. With no chance of getting the birthday present Barney wanted, the man and his mother left. Graham sees a truck pull up to the depot and hears the driver talking about a bebot that fell off the truck during transport. He sees this as an opportunity to buy Barney a bebot for much less than he would pay at the store. When the boy wakes up the next morning, his father wishes him a late happy birthday and gives him his new robot. Barney is very grateful, but when he tries to turn it on, he realizes that something is wrong. The robot starts to break, and it takes a few minutes before it can get its new friend out. The creature gets up and asks the boy to connect it to the bubble network, but Barney doesn't know how to do that because Bebop wasn't sold legally, so it didn't have its friendship algorithm installed and didn't even know its user. The robot needed to choose Absalom's robot friend, which was not very normal, but for it to access other names, it had to be connected to the bubble network. Barney decides to take him to school because he can't wait to show off his new bebot to his friends. However, the creature darts in front of Barney and gets run over. Barney manages to get it out from under the truck, but the robot's battery runs out because its solar power function hasn't been set up. After this, the boy changes his mind and decides to take the robot to school the next day. Barney comes home to find his room destroyed and the robot gone. He hears a noise in the kitchen and goes to see what's going on. When he gets there, he finds his grandmother dancing on the table with her robot. The boy asks the boy why the little robot destroyed his room, and the boy says he now knows everything about Barney. The robot found that the boy's underwear burns at 111 degrees Celsius, which is 9 degrees lower than the melting point of his asthma inhaler. After all of these problems, Barney decides that his bebot is broken and goes to the store to get a new one. On the way, the robot stops at a park where it meets Rich and his friends. Rich gets angry with Bebot and slaps him, but Bebot gets even and slaps Rich back. They start fighting before the car comes. The boy gets excited about his new friend and decides he won't trade him for any other. However, a police officer finds them and takes them straight to Bubble headquarters. There, Barney finds out that his Bebot doesn't have any registered users, and his grandmother admits that she bought that toy illegally. One of the vendors takes the creature to the shredder so it won't cause any more problems. Barney tries to explain that his robot was only trying to protect him, but no one listens to him. So, Barney goes to save his friend himself. However, the seller realizes that the boy and his robot got away and calls Spree, the store's sales manager. Together, they search the whole store for the boy until they find them hiding with other Bebots. Bree asks them to come out of hiding, so Barney decides to give the woman his broken robot. After the little robot is destroyed, the boy gets in the car while his grandmother argues with the policeman. At that moment, the boy pulled his robot out of his backpack and told it that he would teach it how to be his friend. Bebop then says his name is Ron, and the boy asks that from then on, the little robot be called Barney. When they get home, the boy takes Ron to the barn, where the robot will get his first lesson in how to be friends with him. After a few days of non-stop lessons, the robot finally gets it. Barney takes Ron for a walk in the mountains. As they look out over the city, Ron tells Barney that his mother died when he was 2 years old. Due to an accident, Ron falls off a cliff and rolls all the way to Savannah's house. The girl was getting ready to do a live show with her friend when the robot appears, grabs the lights, and falls into the pool, causing a major short circuit. Soon after, Barney comes and jumps into the water to save Ron. He apologizes for ruining Savannah's plans and asks her not to tell anyone about his Bebop because he was such a big secret. Before Ron leaves, Savannah sends him a friend request, but Barney tells him that his robot is different from others and doesn't usually make friends. When the girl hears this, she gets scared and says that if a Bebop doesn't make friends, he's useless. Still, the boy doesn't want to listen to his classmate, so he takes Ron home with him the next day. Andrew, the co-founder of Bubble, sees Savannah's video, and he and his team figure out that the faulty robot Mark shows up, and the young man finds out that a different Bebop was destroyed in place of the one that was bugged. The randomness of that robot interests him. Mark says that when he was a teenager, all he wanted most was a friend to hang out with, just like Barney and Ron. Now, he wants to find that Bebop and find out how it got around its programming. Barney goes to school. A few minutes later, Ron comes out of hiding with a mission to find new friends for the boy. To do this, he talks to everyone he meets on the street and asks if they want to be friends with Barney. The robot also puts up hundreds of posters around the city asking people to be friends with the boy. Ron then goes to school, where Barney spots him and runs after his robot when the recess bell rings. Ron tells him that he brought some friends for the boys, and he soon finds himself in trouble. The students form a group, and Barney goes to find out what's going on. At this point, Ron introduces the boy to the new friends he's made for him. Among them were a crazy biker, a parrot, and an old lady, as if that wasn't bad enough. The robot tells him about a baby he stole while his mother was busy, which makes things even worse. Barney is called to the principal's office when the bubble team gets to school. Rich asks Ron how he hit him the other day, since Bebots can't do anything violent. The robot then shows that it doesn't have any security controls, so the boy tells his bot to copy Ron's programming to get rid of its security controls as well. So, on the way to the principal's office, there is chaos. Savannah runs into Barney, who asks her what's going on. She tells him that her post went viral, and the bubble team went to talk to her about it. When he gets to the principal's office, Bree is waiting for him and tells the boy to give Savannah's robot back. Meanwhile, outside, the other Bebots are freaking out and doing everything their security system forbids them to do. Savannah uses the chance to connect with Bubble users all over the world through a live stream, which is also watched by Mark and Amy. Mark tells his team to update the software on all the robots, and Savannah ends up being swallowed by a giant ape during the transmission. As a result of the union of hundreds of Bebots, the girl passes through the creature's body and comes out like a poop. Everyone at school sees Savannah's video, and she becomes known as the Poop Girl. Now that the update is done, all Bebots that caused all that trouble are turned off. When Bernie goes to get his things from the closet, he finds Ron and decides to take him home because he knows the bubble team could find him at any time and destroy the robot on the way. Barney says that Ron is a dumb robot because his job was to fit in, but he hasn't even been able to do that. Then Ron asks if the boy is his friend. Barney doesn't understand the question, since the Bebop was bored to serve him. At that time, the robot remembers one of the lessons Barney taught him, that friendship is a two-way street. However, he wasn't acting like Ron's friend, so he didn't realize that he wasn't being a good friend. The robot decides to leave and go its own way. At the same time, employees at Bubble HQ are on the verge of going crazy. The broken robot hadn't been found yet, and the company's stock had fallen more than 50%. Mark doesn't know what to do to get around the problem, so he lets Andrew take charge. The man gets Barney's address from the school and sends his team there. When the boy gets home, he realizes that he is surrounded and hides in the barn. To his surprise, Ron was there too. Barney had called Ron a dumb robot, so Ron was packing to go back to the factory. The boy apologizes to Ron and says he is his friend as they embrace. As the boy's father approaches, he and Ron run away on a scooter and end up being chased. Barney then catches Ron, and he and Ron hide in Savannah's backyard. The girl sees her co-worker and asks what's going on. Barney tells her that the bubble is looking for Ron and he needs to protect him, so he's going to hide in the forest. But before he leaves, the boy asks Savannah why she's crying, and she tells him that from now on, she'll always be known as the Poop Girl. Barney says he's sorry and asks that she keep her secret this time. Andrew is still obsessed with finding the boogie robot, so he tells the staff to use the cameras and microphones of all the Bebots to look for any information about the boy. The team does not agree with this because they would be spying on the kids, but Andrew was in charge at the time. Barney and Ron were having fun like good friends, even though they didn't know what to do or how to survive in that place. Barney was happy to have his robot with him during the night. That night, Barney's father and grandmother went to Savannah's house to see if she knew where Barney could be. The robot only has 5 batteries left, so the boy tells him to sleep to save power during the night. During the night, the Bubble team hears Savannah's voice and sends cameras into the woods to try to find the boy in his bebop. When the boy realizes that he's being looked for, he tells Savannah to go back to sleep. Barney grabs Ron and runs away. Ron hides in the trunk of a tree and stays out of sight for a few minutes. A short time later, Barney needs to run away again and ends up falling off a small cliff. The young man runs out of breath and his asthma inhaler no longer works. Ron wakes up and sees the boy about to die during recess the next day. Savannah sees Ron walking toward the students the next morning. Rush to her and find out that the robots saved Barney's life. Another Bebop calls an ambulance, and a few minutes later, the boy's family and the paramedics show up. Barney's classmates stop Mark and Bree when they try to take Ron away. A few hours later, Ron wakes up in the hospital, where his grandmother and father are there to help him. Soon after, Mark shows up and tells him that he has fixed his robot. However, when the robot starts talking, Barney realizes that this is not the Ron he knows. Mark tells him that he has reinstalled the friendship algorithm in Bebop, and the boy asks him to make the robot go back to what it was before. Mark tries to access the cloud where he saved the old version of Ron, but his access is blocked. Mark doesn't know what's going on because he is the CEO of Bubble. At that time, a young man sees an ad from Andrew in which the man says that the investors have decided to fire Mark and make him the new CEO. Graham brings his broken computer to the counter and asks a worker to look at it. Meanwhile, Danica comes in with her cleaning cart and has to go through the metal detector. The worker connects the man's computer to the Bubble network, which causes a short circuit and lets Barney's grandmother pass through the detectors without a problem. When the woman gets to a safe place, she calls for everyone, including her goat, to come out of hiding. They all follow Mark to the server room, where the goat bites one of the wires that would open all the doors in the building. Mark tells Barney and his grandmother to go to the cloud while he goes to the control room. Danica stays behind to confuse the staff and distract Andrew. At that moment, one of the security guards comes in and tells Mark that he found a goat biting Andrew and says that he hates children, but an employee interrupts him to say that he has found someone in the cloud. Andrew orders all the lights in the cloud to be turned off so that security can be sent. The cloud's lights go out, and just as the boy is about to give up on finding his friend, a light starts to shine and Barney finds Ron's hard drive. Mark manages to turn the cloud back on, and Barney puts the hard drive into the Bebop. The robot and the boy then see Barney's classmates on the screen. They seem unhappy with their Bebots, and Ron asks Barney to connect him to the Bubble network so that his programming will be shared with all the other bots. Mark helps them with this mission, but when the process starts, Ron starts to break up, so Mark cancels the update to keep him from going away. Barney tells his friend to leave that place, but the robot says it's his job to make friends. So Barney decides to support his friend's decision and helps him break into the Bubble network. Security comes to the cloud and leads the boy, his father, and his grandmother to the exit. The boy leaves and Andrew rushes to his presentation as Bubble's new CEO. But before he can make the announcement, Mark shows him some incriminating recordings, such as him saying, "I'm going to see you next time."